At the beginning of the season, like I do every year, I put out my standing predictions for each conference for the upcoming year, and even though I had the Boston Celtics finishing first in the East, I did not have them making it out of the Eastern Conference come the playoffs. As good as the Celtics were, I did not have faith in the team to finally get over the hump and win a championship. I didn't think they would be able to get past the Bucks or the Sixers in the playoffs, although luckily for them, they never saw either of those teams. And when they did finally win the East and go on to the finals, I made a video talking about how this was the easiest run to the finals in NBA history. Heading into the finals, I had the Mavs winning in 6 games because I believed the Celtics would finally be tested against a good, healthy team and a team that had the best player in the series. At every turn, throughout the season, doubting Jayson Tatum and his ability to finally lead his team to a title, doubted Jaylen Brown and his massive contract extension, the largest in league history, and I doubted Joe Mazzulla being the right coach to get this team to win a title. And at every step of the way, the Celtics proved me wrong in not only finishing with the best record in the regular season, but dominating their opponents on the way to the NBA Finals, and then would go on to not just beat the team I said they would lose to in 6 games, but beating them in convincing fashion, winning this series in 5 games, and leaving no room for doubt that they were the better team, the best team, in only losing 3 games throughout the entire playoffs. And so to that, I owe the Boston Celtics an apology, a team that showed why they were the clear favorites to win and now sit with the most championships in NBA history at 18 in total. Just how dominant was this team and why did it work so well? Well, let's talk about it. As always, if you're new to the channel and you like this type of content, it would mean a great deal to me if you subscribe to help the channel grow, and in return, I'll be providing more NBA content like this. Now, when it comes to the Boston Celtics, there's always been a fair amount of criticism. Sometimes fans like to troll the Celtics for always having great regular season success, but would ultimately fall when it came playoff time. And sure, people like to make fun of Jaylen Brown in the interview he did years back about how he wanted to have 5 rings by the time he was 27, poking fun at how he can't dribble or finish with his left hand. Of course, the ongoing narrative in the media and whether or not Tatum or Brown together can coexist, and if one of them should in fact be traded. We've heard it all over the years, and now a lot of those narratives can finally be put to rest as the Celtics embark on their championship parade. Here's the thing though, while we might have had our doubts about this team in the past, you also can't deny, which I continue to deny even during the season, that this is one of the most complete teams we have seen in recent memory. Between their star power, their depth, elite shooting, balance between offense and defense, and everything in between. The Celtics were the #1 team by net rating in both the regular season and playoffs. They were first overall in the league on offense and third on defense, first in the league in SRS, second in overall scoring, but also remained in the top 5 in fewest points allowed by their opponent. They were by far and away the best 3-point shooting team in the league, shooting at 38.8% on the highest volume of threes in the NBA, averaging 42.5 threes per game. For context, the next highest volume shooting 3-point team in the league was the Dallas Mavericks at 39.5, a huge disparity between first and second. That became even more apparent when you consider the Celtics averaged 16.5 threes made per game, the highest in the league, with the next team being the Golden State Warriors at just 14.8 threes per game. What's funny is that the Celtics were dead last in the NBA in the number of 2-point shots attempted this season, but actually were second in their overall percentage shooting from within inside the arc. They were the #1 shot blocking team in the NBA, the #1 team in the league in taking care of the ball with the fewest turnovers committed. They improved nearly every facet of their game as a team from last year, and it showed every time they stepped out onto the court. But for the Celtics, the numbers aside, the biggest thing that set them apart and took their team to the next level from where they were last year was the additions of Jrue Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis. While Porzingis has been in and out of the lineup throughout the regular season and missed a good portion of the postseason as well, the Celtics likely don't win Game 1 without Porzingis, who had just been inserted back into the lineup, and the Mavericks simply had no answer for him, as the Celtics did an incredible job at getting switches onto Porzingis in the mid-range to exploit mismatches. And by adding Porzingis to the roster overall and moving on from Marcus Smart, gave the requisite floor spacing, size, shot blocking, and rim protection that the Celtics were greatly missing. And then for Jrue Holiday was instrumental for this team. I mentioned it at the time of the trade when the Celtics ended up being the winners in the Jrue Holiday sweepstakes once the Bucks moved him to Portland as part of the Damian Lillard deal, and I said this was going to prove to be a better deal for the Celtics than the Bucks getting Damian Lillard. Because while I don't think anyone will deny that Lillard is the better player between the two, he's the bigger star, you also can't underestimate fit in the NBA and the importance of defense on a team that is comprised of offensive-minded stars. But not only that, having a glue guy that knows his role, plays it to perfection, and does all of the little things that aren't always noticed by most fans. Holiday, with his combination of elite-level perimeter defense, stopping the ball at the point of attack, navigating through screens, and possessing the high-level IQ to guide his teammates and instruct them on where they need to be on that end of the floor for help defense and defending off the ball. Not only all of that, but having a strong level of situational awareness on offense. Knowing when to take his shots, knowing when to defer to his stars. He knows he's not going to be putting up 25 points per game. He knows he's not going to get the bulk of the shots. But because of his IQ, he takes the right shots, high percentage shots, and it's why you saw him shoot some of the best we've ever seen in his career at nearly 43% from 3 on near 5 attempts per game this season. That's insane efficiency for a guy who isn't that well known for his three-point shooting. We knew he could shoot it from deep, but this season, he was on another level, and unlike last season when people were talking about how Jrue Holiday went MIA in the playoffs, not the case this postseason, where he still continued to shoot well above 40% from 3, above 50% from the field, and 95% from the free throw line. Again, I know it's the volume, but 40, 50, 90 club in the postseason is not something we would have expected from Jrue Holiday. Second team all defense, 6th in voting for defensive player of the year. Dude hustles, plays hard, always knows where he needs to be on the court. And I know this probably is a hot take to most, and maybe it's a bit hyperbolic, but without the addition of Jrue Holiday, I don't see the Boston Celtics winning the championship this season. A game-changing trade and transaction for the Celtics, and better yet, they also signed him to an extension during the year. But of course, we can't underestimate the value and importance of Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown. While Tatum might have had his ups and downs in the playoffs, and I think most people would have never expected to see Jaylen Brown winning the Finals and Conference Finals MVP award, these guys, as co-stars this season, were phenomenal. You know, most teams struggle when you have two similarly skilled stars that thrive in having the ball in their hands, and two stars around the same age, same talent tier or thereabouts, to have them work together, feed off each other, rely on each other if one is having a bad game. Not doing the whole your turn, my turn style of offense you see from teams with more than one star. Relinquishing this notion that there needs to be a number 1 and number 2 option or a 1A, 1B. Not focusing on the title of who is the team's best player and who's the second best player. These guys just came to hoop this season. And as I mentioned before, they put to bed this narrative that they can't work together, or hell, putting to bed this narrative that a team needs a clearly defined number 1 option or establishing whose team this is. This Boston Celtics team showed that's a myth. It's a myth as long as you have the right guys in the locker room who can put their egos aside and focus on the prize of winning. And hats off to Joe Mazzulla, man. Like, yeah, he's a bit weird and awkward with the press, but the man is a borderline savant in his tactics and offensive schemes. But aside from just being a great basketball mind, he's great at managing egos, defining roles, and getting the most out of his players. Yeah, you can say, well, it's easy to have that kind of success when you have this level of talent on your team, not if the players don't like you and respect you as a coach, and not if you don't have a leader who's going to hold you accountable and making the roles of every player on the roster crystal clear. And look, of course, a lot of the other role players were great. Derek White was amazing, also second team all defense this season. Sam Hauser, Al Horford, Peyton Pritchard, again, just speaks to the depth of this team and everyone knowing what they needed to do to ensure that the team was successful. The Celtics found their perfect recipe for finally bringing home an NBA championship, their first since 2008. And with this roster remaining intact, their star players still in the peak of their prime, this team is poised to repeat for next season in their hunt for bringing home title number 19. And so to the Boston Celtics, I owe you an apology for having doubted your ability to get to this place and exceeding my expectations. It was a hell of a season for them, and they are a force to be reckoned with for years to come in the NBA. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know in the comments. As always, be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.